At the start of the story, we see a house buzzing with people running a drug operation. Suddenly, a masked man storms in with a gun, robs all the cash, and bolts out. But the moment he steps outside, cops surround him from every side, arrest him on the spot, and throw him in jail. During the investigation, they uncover his identity. His name is Savage, a former Special Forces soldier. He'd fought countless battles in Iraq and Afghanistan, earning medals of honor for serving his country. When the police commissioner learns about this, he personally calls Savage into his office and asks why a decorated soldier turned to crime. Savage's reply cuts deep.
I was thrown away. I served my country. Come home. I can't afford medicine, food. I'm living in the fucking projects.
As long as the country needs us, we're taken care of. But once we retire, the government leaves us to die. His pain is real. He has a daughter battling lung cancer, and he doesn't even have enough money to buy her medicine. Hearing this, the commissioner sees an opportunity. He tells Savage about Lucas, a corrupt prison warden running illegal activities behind bars. Lucas organizes brutal underground fights and streams them live for profit. On top of that, he uses inmates to run a drug business. The problem? The police have no evidence against him. That's where Savage comes in. The commissioner wants him to infiltrate Lucas's prison, gather proof, and send it out. At first, Savage refuses, but when the commissioner promises to cover his daughter's medical expenses, he reluctantly agrees. The next day, Savage is sent into the prison. A guard named Killian lays down the rules for the new inmates. Then the prison doctor implants a chip in Savage's neck, disguised as a tracker, but really a GPS device for the warden to follow him if he ran away. When Savage enters his cell, he finds a phone hidden under the bed, smuggled in by the commissioner to help him record evidence. That evening in the mess hall, a prisoner named James
Get on your knees and bow down.
tries to pick a fight, but Savage ignores him and walks away. Later in the yard, Savage meets Tony, another inmate who offers him a spot in his gang. Savage refuses and quietly leaves. But that night, James and his crew ambush Savage in his cell, sparking chaos. Just when things get out of hand, another prisoner, Bones, steps in to back Savage up. The guards soon arrive, lock everyone in solitary, and drag James to the warden's office, where Lucas rewards him for causing trouble. Not long after, Savage is also called to the warden's office. But instead of punishing him, Lucas makes a shocking offer. Knowing Savage's Special Forces background, he wants him to fight in the underground tournament. If Savage defeats the prison's top fighter, he'll earn his freedom. For Savage, this is the perfect chance to gather some evidence and expose Lucas's operation, so he agrees. The warden hands him a combat uniform, and a female officer escorts him to a new cell, where Bones is already waiting. The two quickly become friends. Soon after, Savage sneaks into the prison bathroom and secretly updates the commissioner about the illegal fights. Meanwhile, Bones warns him about Tony, the reigning champion of the prison, undefeated in every single match. That evening, Savage suited up and stepped into the underground fighting arena. The dungeon. The rule here was simple. There were no rules. Every fight was brutal, and the wardens streamed them live so people on the outside could watch and place bets. As the crowd roared, Savage discreetly pulled out his hidden phone and started recording, collecting evidence. Moments later, the reigning champion Tony entered the ring, facing not one but two prisoners at the same time. Yet with his raw power and skill, Tony crushed them both without breaking a sweat. Next, it was Savage's turn. His opponent was a fierce inmate named Vampirio. But the moment the fight started, Savage, drawing on his Special Forces training, knocked Vampirio out cold with a single punch. The fight was over in less than 10 seconds, and the audience went wild. Meanwhile, Tony met with the warden to demand his freedom. The warden had promised that once Tony became champion, he'd be released. But instead of keeping his word, the warden told him he'd have to fight one last match. If he won, then, and only then, he'd walk free. Furious, Tony had no choice but to agree, but he warned the warden, "If you go back on your word, my gang will burn this place down." The next day, a government lawyer named Janet came to visit Savage. She wanted to fight his case and get him out legally, but since Savage was on a secret mission, he refused her help. Still, Janet handed him her card, just in case he changed his mind. Determined to prepare for what lay ahead, Savage hit the prison gym and trained hard. His next opponent was no ordinary inmate. It was a very strong and unpredictable fighter. Days passed, and the fight day finally arrived. The warden proudly announced the showdown. An opponent entered the ring. As the bell rang, the man lunged forward with full force. But once again, Savage's strength and precision were unmatched. He dropped his opponent with a single devastating punch. The entire prison erupted, chanting Savage's name. But Savage didn't celebrate. He simply walked out of the ring with Bones by his side. Later that night, the two shared a quiet moment in their cell. Bones revealed his backstory. He was imprisoned for killing a man who had assaulted his sister. Savage looked him in the eye and said, "You did the right thing. You're not a bad man." The two bonded over their shared scars. The next evening in the mess hall, something unusual happened. The moment Savage walked in, the place went silent. Every inmate avoided his gaze. His display of power had terrified the entire prison. They now saw him as a threat. But the tension didn't end there. The very next day, while Savage was washing his clothes, Tony's men ambushed him. Just as the fight was about to explode, a prison guard rushed in to break it. As the fight between Savage and Tony's men heated up, chaos struck. A knife suddenly flew through the air and sank deep into a guard's chest. She collapsed instantly. Without wasting a second, Savage rushed to her aid. Using his military training and quick thinking, he dragged her to the emergency room. Thanks to his sharp instincts, the guard's life was saved. The warden later called Savage into his office, thanking him sincerely. If the guard had died, the warden's entire operation might have been exposed. He then asked Savage for the names of the attackers, and together with his loyal guard Killian, personally executed them. But their deaths ignited Tony's fury. Burning with rage, Tony stormed up to Savage and challenged him to a fight. Savage ignored him at first, focusing on his training. But later, he deliberately went to the warden's office and demanded the fight himself. Hearing this, the warden's eyes lit up. A showdown between Savage and Tony would draw massive bets and make him a fortune. He immediately booked the match. That night, Savage messaged the commissioner and told, "I'll be fighting the prison's top fighter soon." A week passed, and the big day arrived. The warden announced the fight to the entire prison and even streamed it live for outsiders to place bets. The moment the bell rang, the two titans clashed. Savage and Tony unleashed hell on each other. Every punch, every kick shaking the ring. The first round was evenly matched, a brutal back and forth. But in the second round, Savage's combat experience took over. He began dominating Tony, striking with precision and power until Tony finally collapsed, beaten and broken. Savage had done the impossible. He defeated the undefeated. The crowd exploded, chanting his name, hailing him as the new hero of the prison. Later in his cell, Savage sent video evidence of the fight to the commissioner, but this time there was silence, no reply. That evening in the mess hall, something unexpected happened. The same inmates who once feared him now welcomed him, offering food as a sign of respect. Savage had become a symbol inside those walls. But then the warden summoned him. He praised Savage's strength and offered him a deal. Work for him, control the prisoners, and make endless money by running the fights together. Savage refused. To him, the inmates were brothers, not pawns. So the warden revealed his darker side. He led Savage to a hidden base deep inside the prison, where he ran his drug empire using inmates as labor. He offered Savage a share of the business. Savage pretended to consider it, saying he needed time, but secretly pocketed a sample of drugs, planning to expose the warden later. But before he could leave, the warden escorted him back to his office, and there, waiting for him, was the commissioner. And then came the shocking truth. Savage realized the warden and the commissioner had been working together from the very beginning. They knew about his elite fighting skills, and that's exactly why they planted him inside the prison. To exploit him, force him into fights, and rake in millions. The betrayal shattered Savage, to police him, but things got even worse. Their new plan was to pit him against a fighter from another prison and make even bigger profits. They offered Savage a place in their scheme, but when he refused, they dragged in Bones and tortured him brutally. To save his friend's life, Savage had no choice but to agree. Back in their cell, Savage and Bones made a pact. They'd expose the warden and the commissioner no matter what. Savage then contacted Janet, the lawyer he'd met earlier. He handed her all the evidence stored on a memory card and trusted her to bring the truth to light. At the same time, he began rallying the other prisoners, filling them with the courage and anger to rise up against their corrupt oppressors. Soon, fight night arrived. The warden of another prison arrived with his champion fighter, Shaka. Bets were placed, the live stream was running, and the crowd was ready. When the fight began, Shaka quickly overpowered Savage. Round 1 was brutal. Savage was beaten badly, but in round 2, Savage played his ace. He hurled stolen drugs into Shaka's eyes, blinding him, and then unleashed a relentless assault until Shaka lay broken on the ground. That was the signal. Savage raised his hand, and instantly, the inmates erupted in chaos. Riots broke out across the prison, overwhelming the guards. No matter how hard they fought, they couldn't control the sheer number of furious prisoners. Meanwhile, outside, Janet had already delivered the evidence to the government. An army battalion stormed the prison, exposing the warden's crimes to the world. The warden tried to escape, spraying bullets at Savage, but his bulletproof vest saved him. Moments later, Bones arrived and beat the warden mercilessly, making him taste his own cruelty. Finally, the army arrested both the warden and the commissioner, ending their reign of corruption. Janet revealed that it was Savage who had given her the evidence, and because of his bravery, the government dropped all charges against him. They also covered his daughter's medical treatment. In the end, Savage walked out of prison a free man. He went straight to the hospital to bring his daughter home after her successful treatment. Meanwhile, the warden and the commissioner were sentenced to life imprisonment for their crimes. And with that, this incredible story came to a close.